you doing, everybody? Chris Bruce here, and I am here once again shooting another video. This video, we're going to talk about pretty much a case study of one of my students' deals, his very first deal he closed. And we got a lot to tell you in this story. It's an incredible story. We'll tell you how much he made, how he found the deal, but more importantly, what it took to actually get that first deal done. Okay, so let me go ahead and welcome my student, Jr. What's going on, Jr?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good to have you here. So for people that's watching right now, tell them a little bit about yourself, kind of what you were doing before you got into real estate.
Sure. So what we were doing before we got into real estate was truck driving for the past 2 years. So any truckers out there, shout out to you. Be safe on the road, especially over the holidays. But we were driving trucks. Before that, we had sales experience. My wife sold life insurance. I came from a background of selling solar panels, different things like that. So we kind of already were familiar with dealing with people.
Okay, so that's great. So yeah, that always helps. I tell everybody, you know, if you have dealt with people before in some type of form or fashion, or customer service, sales, or whatever, then you're definitely going to excel, you know. So you was truck driving, and then you heard about wholesaling. So how did you even hear about wholesaling? Like, how did this even come about? Like,
well, it was actually YouTube.
Okay.
Just paying attention to YouTube. I was actually typing in, looking for things that I can do from home or from the truck.
Gotcha.
The season was a little bit slow, so I'm like, hey, how can I replace some income, right? So I look up and I see a video. I forgot who it was. Okay. But I look at it and they're talking about they made $17,000 in like 3 weeks. So I'm like, okay, this is crazy. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I look into it and they're talking about wholesaling. So I'm not even familiar with the term. But from there, I started watching videos, get more interested in it. I let it marinate for 6 months. And then I run across one of your ads, one of your videos. Wow. You know, so
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we talked about a little bit off camera a little bit that I know you had got into a course before, and the course was good. It wasn't like it was bad or anything like that. But for a lot of people, they need more, right? Correct. A course can only do so much, but you need that support. So I know you reached out to me. We got together to the mentorship program, and I want to ask you. So when you got into the program, what did you kind of expect? Like, what was kind of like your goal, or what was in mind? What did you think that you wanted to accomplish?
Well, I mean, the main thing was really getting a thorough understanding of what to do when the situation arose. So I wanted to know, when I talk to a seller, what do I tell this seller? Right. How do I know what houses are going for in a certain area? Exactly. Yeah. So I really want to know the facts. And that was my main expectation, was just how do I get started and see immediate results. Gotcha.
Okay. All right. And so one thing I want to share with you guys is that, JR definitely has some challenges. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about this deal and some of the challenges that we went through. And this is going to be very interesting for a lot of you that's listening, especially the people that are new, aspiring real estate investors. Okay. So you have been doing one of the strategies that, we talked about, which is cold calling.
Correct.
And so you came across a lead in one of the hottest, most competitive markets in the country. All right, so you came across this lead. Where did you even find this lead from? Where's this lead from?
Well, we actually got this lead from a service called PropStream.
Okay.
We were using them, and they have a pretty good way to filter out vacant properties in certain areas.
Definitely.
So we had made a list of Central Florida. Okay. Luckily, that was on there.
Wow.
In Tampa, we didn't even have a lot of Tampa properties, but that was one of them.
Yeah, I was surprised when you called me. You had a deal in Tampa. I was like, oh, you got a deal in my market.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so did you or your wife make the call to the person?
Well, my wife did. Okay. Cold calling wise, just a heads up, females, it works a lot better.
That's some tip for you guys.
Yeah, it works a lot better.
Get your wife or your significant other, your cousin, auntie, women to do it, fellas.
Definitely.
All right. So she called.
Yep.
She got this guy on the phone, and he said he was interested in selling the property.
Correct.
All right. So you went out. Well, you talked to him over the phone, and then I guess what happened from there?
Well, what happened from there was we found out what he wanted for the property, and found out that he was really ready to sell immediately. Okay. So we set an appointment. He was asking too high initially, but because he had that urgency and wanted to sell quickly, that was like our confirmation to go ahead and move forward.
And that's one thing I want you guys to know. See, a lot of times people think that a seller's going to say a number that is going to be the specific number, exact number that you need to be at, but a lot of times that doesn't happen. Right? Okay, so he wanted what?
He wanted $150.
$150,000 for it. And we knew from running the analysis that we need to be probably where?
We really wanted to be around 80.
Okay.
But 80 to 100 at
right.
the most.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So you go out to the property. Now, of course, you meet up with this older gentleman and his sister. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I guess since they saw that you were young, they were like, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like, you know, you don't really have the money. Kind of that look. So we kind of had to have our gameplay together and what we're going to say in our presentation. The good thing is we were prepared. We brought comps, like paperwork, showing them houses that have sold in that same area. So with facts and everything, it's hard to deny what the case, basically.
And that's the thing, guys, is that's the thing. Once you are properly educated and understand of how to go in and educate a seller, it doesn't matter your race, doesn't matter your age, background, whatever. The facts are the facts, right? So this guy wanted $150,000 for his property, but there was no way in hell that anybody was going to pay that.
Right.
Okay, so he wanted $150,000. What did you get this guy to agree on the price?
Well, we got him to agree at $100,000.
$50,000 under what he's asking. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say it one more time. $50,000 under his asking price. Wow. That is crazy, man. That's crazy, Jr.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so you got this deal under contract for $100,000. All right, and so you went out. I know we did a strategy which is a little advanced for some people, but we listed on MLS. And then in between that, I want to talk about the challenges that happened. So once it was listed on MLS, what were some things that happened with the seller?
Well, I mean, they wanted to change the dates around. At one point, we were going to close like a week earlier. Then they pushed it like 2 weeks back. It was just certain complications. Then they wanted to get their lawyer involved so that they had already signed the paperwork, but they wanted to get their lawyer involved after they signed it to make sure that we were still valid. So there was still some things there that they were missing, but we kind of pieced it together at the end of the day and showed them that it was legit. It wasn't anything fraudulent.
Exactly.
You know?
That's the one thing Jr. didn't do. He didn't fold. See, sometimes with people is when you get into situations that they get nervous, and this is why it's important to have your facts, be prepared. If you can, have a coach or something that can help assist you, that when these situations and complications come up, is that you don't get nervous, because a seller can really, they can hints that out. They can see that. They can be like, you know what, you inexperienced, you don't know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Deal's cut, right? Yeah. So secured the deal, found a buyer. How much was the buyer paying on this property?
The buyer was paying $140.
$140, and the contract was for $100,000. Yeah. That is crazy. Okay, so you got a buyer for it. What was your thinking in your mind? You was like, man, this is $40,000 in line, my very first deal.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. My wife and I were very excited. Didn't expect it to be, but we expect to get maybe like $125 for the property. Honestly. Okay. I think we even put it up for $120. Right. But so many people wanted it, and it went up so much. Right. Until we were very excited about it, you know.
And that's the good thing about it, guys. Just a little tip of strategy. What we did with this property was we made sure that it was like a bidding war type of thing, you know, of getting a lot of people interested in the property. And so by doing that, that's what rose interest, and people start overbidding. Like JR said, instead of us getting $120 for the property, he ended up finding a buyer that wanted to pay $140. He even got a buyer that wanted to pay more, you know, but we went with the $140. Okay, so $40,000 profit. Of course, didn't want to have the seller know how much you're making, how much the buyer making, so closing costs and everything else. What was the total profit on that deal?
Total profit on that deal was, I think, a little bit over $35,000. Yeah.
One deal. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, most people make that in a year, and you're happy. All right? I remember when I had a job there, I was making $24,000 a year. Mm. So a deal for $35,000, like, man. It's insane. It's insane that you can make that much money on one deal. One deal could change your whole life. All right, so for anybody that's listening to this, or watching this video from wherever they're watching it, that has been thinking or kind of been on the fence about getting a mentor and getting more information to specifically my mentorship program, because I'm going to pitch it out there for you. What advice or what would you give them, you know, that's thinking about it?
I would tell them, I mean, number one, go with Chris. That's just what I'm going to say. He has the best plan out there. I mean, I researched a lot of gurus. I'm a person that puts in work when it comes down to making sure I go with the right person, and my wife can vouch for that. Everybody online, I bought a few courses from them. No one was as personable as Chris has been. He's been there for everything. Every time I needed to call on him, he was there. Best advice out there. He's not giving you the fluff. He's gonna tell you exactly what you need to do, when you need to do it, how you need to do it, and why. So I would say go with Chris, man. You won't be sorry at all.
All right. Well, listen, you heard it from Jr. You didn't hear it from my mouth. Okay. So if you are interested in getting more information, there's going to be a link somewhere on this video that you can go ahead and fill it out. Honestly, spots are very limited. Okay. If you want to see some success, I can't guarantee you're going to make as much money as Jr. on your first deal, but we're going to make sure you get there. As long as you are a hard worker like Jr. and his wife, as long as you are willing to put in the work, the results will come. All right, so any last words to anybody, the world is listening and watching this video?
Man, nothing at all, man. Just take action. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to fail. Fail forward, and definitely get a great mentor. I recommend Chris, like I said.
All right. You guys heard it first. So you guys, you know my quote. Don't live the dream. Live your dream. I'll see you on the next one.